up guys? It's June 13th, Sunday. Basically today I wanted to give you a rundown of everything that's going on, give you an update on some of the crops, what we're doing at this time of year. It's a pretty nice day, a little cooler in the morning. We have not had much rain lately, so I came back, I brought some water jugs and started to fill up at least the rest of the way these water holes, so hopefully that'll get us most of the way through summer. I wanted to finish the rest of the travel corridor back here to really define the rest of deer movement and get them used to it, right? If they can sense these paths, get used to them, beat the trails down a little bit, it's going to help them get through where we want to and funnel them into our food plots and by our stands, of course, which is the ultimate goal. So besides the water hole, we hung a couple new mock scrapes. These aluminum ladders, by the way, are very good. They're nice and light to take on the ATV. Got the mock scrape just around waist high so the fawns and everything can get at it. Really thin paracord holding it up, and you know, scrape the bottom a little bit even though they're not scraping. Hopefully gives them a little more sign to look at and make use of. So with the water hole here, you can see our travel corridor takes off this way, and we're trying to bring this turn through, which is why I decided to put this mock scrape right here. They have plenty of room to kind of maneuver around the water hole, maneuver around the mock scrape. Might trim that log up a little, but I did this today to kind of make sure that we can get them moving where we want. And then I'm going to trim a little more this way, and it's going to go right to the food plot that hits the field and continues on the food plot trail. But before we move on, I wanted to kind of show you, go for a quick walk on what the travel corridor looks like. How wide is it? It's a little wider naturally here just because we didn't have many trails. And you can also see I do not have any hinge cuts really on this side. That hinge cut video we did was actually on the far side of this, on the far east side. So it's not done on this, and we're gonna wait until, you know, really that early August, maybe late July. You can see a little play hinge cut right here, and it gets a little more narrow. Basically, you know, I kind of like that 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet. Makes it pretty easy. I trimmed some of the stuff. We want to leave a lot of the vegetation because they're going to be browsing it as well. And I might spray a little bit more on our human access, which is, you know, that way 50 yards or so. Same thing, little play hinge cuts I did. And this basically continues on. I'll show you a little bit more just to give you an idea. Now, this may seem like it's not too, you know, blocked off on the edges. The deer might have trouble staying on this, but once I come back in July and really start to narrow things down, you know, trees like this that are a perfect kind of width, we'll start dropping those, and it'll really taper this off nicely. And it kind of, the other thing to mention is that this meanders, right? It's not straight. We came through, just made a turn, coming back, and this will continue on. Again, we will drop some trees on both sides, and that way it'll funnel even more. We have thicker bedding, plenty of room for them to sneak in off the trail in between hinge cuts, bed in there, and come out onto here and hopefully follow the corridor, hit our mock scrapes, and ultimately get next to our stands. So I have one more mock scrape to hang, and then we're gonna go out. Let's check the buckwheat and the switchgrass. And I know you guys, well, may have seen that Cuddyback firmware video I just did a few days ago. If you don't use Cuddybacks, then probably not gonna watch that one, but we are gonna get those out as well, so we can start looking at some of this growth that we're seeing here this summer. It's always a fun time. All right, let's head over there. All right, so got the last mock scrape up, hung the Cuddybacks. We're gonna slip through into where the food plot trail is gonna start. And we're gonna put one of these other older cameras up. This one's a stealth cam. And then we'll check on this switchgrass and buckwheat. Mind you, it hasn't rained much at all. And on top of that, I mean, it sprinkled the last 2 nights basically. And so I don't know how much we're gonna see. It's actually been a little bit of nerve-wracking, if you will. I'm sure many of you are feeling the same way and have had a couple questions about it. So hopefully we'll start seeing more germination. Again, it's only June 19th, so you know, it's warmer now. And so I would expect here pretty shortly it should be poking out for the seed that's lived. So I just popped out into the field. This is some switchgrass from the previous year when I started to do my first trail. I sprayed a little too much simazine, and I probably actually killed a little bit when I was spraying for this food plot trail that's going to be going through here. So that is some of the reason for the dead grass, but a lot of it's coming back, which is nice. This should all be switchgrass, however, in the coming year. So have to kind of do a deeper dive and see what here is gonna come up. Is there any red down there? I don't see too much red. I don't know if that's switch. This should be switch. That might have been from the last year, but I see little pieces. Not incredibly too much. Thankfully there's not too many weeds growing, so that should really help us when it does start to poke out here. I've heard a lot of comments of people stating that it has, you know, germinated in different areas. Just bear in mind, everyone's gotten different water levels and are in different climates. So I see a couple things poking out, but not too much. We will check another area, but let's hop over to this food plot trail. Unfortunately, these are all weeds, which is not great, because this should all be switchgrass. It's just one little area, it looks like. And right here is where our food plot trail should come out of the woods. Now, it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, some of this buckwheat is coming up decently. A couple pieces. Got some better stuff growing there. You can see all this buckwheat popping up. So that is good. A couple areas where there's not too many pieces of buckwheat, so hopefully we get enough germination. And then this is all really just going to be the natural growth. You can see some of the rye from last year, but some of that natural growth that we'll be leaving throughout the rest of the year. So let's go check out a different area. Alright, so let's hop into this other field. I've already jumped some deer and seen some turkey coming in. Kind of like the good with the bad, I guess. Don't want to bump them, but it's good to see them on the property. You can see still the differences in the simazine and the natural growth that we're leaving, so that's kind of neat. Hopefully start to see some switchgrass poking out. Looks like that might be a little bit. Some of this ragweed though, little piece of switch. So it really looks like it's kind of just starting to come up. Hopefully it beats these weeds out, because most of this is weeds. A couple pieces, ragweed, piece of switch, a little there. So it's not too much, but hopefully it will start poking out a little more. Pretty good weed control in a lot of these areas, but you know, like for the buckwheat, this looks pretty good. This is kind of the coverage I think we want, and you can see exactly where the food plot trail is going to kind of curve and then go through that opening. So this coverage I'm fairly happy with. In that other field that I was just showing you guys though, it's pretty spotty, and I'm kind of wondering whether I'm going to have to, you know, scratch or till the ground up and kill everything and not really be able to utilize the buckwheat as a cover. But we'll still give it a chance, see how it grows, and then for the areas that are good, we'll smash it down. And for the areas that aren't, we might just have to give it a really good kill. I don't have any sort of tiller, so either scratch the ground with that thing I made to pull behind my ATV, if you saw that. Otherwise, you know, find someone or buy some sort of till for the areas that it just isn't growing well. If I keep walking in this area, I do see some buckwheat, so hopefully I'm overreacting. It feels a little discouraging, but it's just really the weeds are beating it out right now, which I'm kind of surprised about. And then it looks like the buckwheat's growing pretty good over there. But in here, it is looking fairly spotty as far as the buckwheat goes. And I don't know if you remember, but when we planted that, we had a good rain when I planted that buckwheat right afterwards. Like the best one we've had, you know, the whole year basically. So for not getting a lot of germination, whether it's the soil or what, it's definitely a little discouraging. You can see much more buckwheat in here growing well, and then into our larger plot through that opening. So a quick update also on the trees we planted. I think that was mid-April, like April 13th. It's kind of neat. They got these light green tips to hopefully kind of give it a little explosion of growth here coming up. Some of them don't have that. That one looks like it didn't take it all. That's already dead. And so hopefully we'll start seeing some good growth on these, and I'm sure we'll have to plant more in the coming years, but it'd be nice to see what 1 year's worth of growth gives us on these pines. This is also the other end of the food plot trail. You can see here, very similar, not much switchgrass germination, kind of sporadic buckwheat. So not the update that we all wanted, but we'll come back, maybe weed whip a little what we need to without killing too much buckwheat. Come back, see if we need to mow, and just do what we have to, so like the rest of you would. Unfortunately, as I keep looking at these trees, I don't know if I'm gonna, this group's definitely not 50%, those are almost all dead, but some of these are just hit and miss. There's some slower growers in the bunch. There's some that are pretty much completely dead and disintegrated. And these are just going to take a little bit longer. This one's growing pretty rapidly, and this one's dead. So I do wonder a little bit, you know, why some of these made it and why some didn't. If they're right next to each other, they get the same amount of sun. They were buried the same way. So that is something we might do a little more research on for the following year when we plant more, but I feel like a 50% ratio wouldn't be too good. I mean, the animals aren't even messing with them yet, and that's probably going to reduce the numbers as well. So we'll see. We'll see even for the slow growers what ones actually make it, because right now it's kind of hard to tell except for the ones that are growing pretty well. So kind of a grim outlook for our June update. But we'll come back, maybe we'll be surprised later. But that is pretty much the update, I guess. Spotty, unfortunately, good in some areas. So we're just gonna have to let it go, see if it can beat out these weeds, and make a decision later, whether we're gonna do it the traditional no-till way or have to kind of mix it up in some areas. And the switch, I will also keep you guys posted on. You can see in like this area, for example, this is all gonna be switch on this side, and most of this is weeds just starting to peek through the simazine, some little leftover rye. It looks like maybe some of this could potentially be switchgrass. I do see some red stems, so it does look like it's peeking through in a little areas. It's just really gotta put up a good fight. We might just have to mow, unfortunately, quite a bit. I did not want to mow, you know, this 1 year being the year we planted so much switchgrass, whatever it was, 15, 17 acres, but if it comes down to it, we'll do it. So if it does, then probably sometime in July, potentially again later, but we'll keep you guys updated. And that's it for mid-June so far. We'll see you guys next time.